today is Tuesday, February 1st. It is 8:30. It's my pleasure to call to order the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning. I'd like to welcome fellow commissioners, guests, staff. Thank you so much for taking your time to come to the meeting this morning. Also like to thank those at home watching. It's always nice to know that people have an interest in what goes on with your public elected local government. And with that, I'm going to open up public comment. Is there any public that would like to address the Finance and Physical Resources Committee? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. That will bring us to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments or anything have to be pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 3 from the Board of Commissioners. Al?
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution authorizing that a proposition be placed on the August 2, 2022 primary election ballot for purposes of a millage for services to persons 60 years of age and older. The senior services millage was approved as a dedicated millage of 0.50 mils and expired on December 31, 2021. The original senior millage was passed in 1998 and was renewed in 2006 and 2014. The county received a request to place a millage proposal on the August 2, 2022 primary election ballot. It is within the discretion of the Board of Commissioners whether to submit the proposal to the electors who reside within Kent County. This request is for an 8-year dedicated 0.50 mil levy, that's 2022 through 2029, to generate revenues to plan, evaluate, and provide services and programs for persons aged 60 years or older. There are 72 counties in Michigan that have an approved full or partial senior millage. 76% of the senior millages are at 0.50 mils or more. The proposed millage of 0.50 mils would cost a homeowner $50 annually per $100,000 of taxable value. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the senior millage ballot language as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Womack, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious, I always kind of compare this one a little bit with the Veterans Millage, and I know the Veterans Millage is under some scrutiny right now to kind of reevaluate. And I'm just kind of curious, what drove the scrutiny of the Veterans Millage that hasn't taken place with this? And I'm fully in favor of this millage, what I know of it, and how the money's used. I'm just wondering why one millage is under some scrutiny and the other one is not. They're pretty comparable. Is that a fair question?
Yes. I think part of it is the process that the senior millage underwent. But Jenny, go ahead.
I believe it's just that the board decided to create a subcommittee to look at the veterans millage because this will be the first time it has been renewed. It is much newer in its life than the senior millage, so I believe it was just an opportunity for some of the commissioners to engage in conversation with the stakeholders about continuing it.
Okay. Now, I would assume that when this was in its infancy, we probably did something different or the same when the first time
so
around.
I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of this. I'm also very much in favor of the Veterans Millage. So, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bolter.
Thank you, Chair Jones. I think just to answer a question, the Veterans Millage also was lapsing money, and we wanted to look at additional allowable uses, and so that's why we were looking closer at the Veterans Millage to add more uses like mental health services and suicide prevention, in addition to what was already being provided. So that was why we were looking at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bukowski.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just so, people know, but I'll state it anyways, I'll be remarkably quiet on this issue because of the conflict of interest. Disability Advocates has been a provider since 1999 under senior millage. As purely a statement of fact, I was also in the room in 1997 and 1998 when this was debated and discussed and advocated. So I could go on with many responses to Commissioner Antor, but I can't, so I won't, and I'll be quiet.
Yes, Commissioner Womack.
I want to say I'll be supporting the senior millage, and just want to thank Commissioner Hennessy and our other seniors who are on the board that keep us updated with the importance of how important the senior millage is.
Hey, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Oh, yes, that's right. Any abstentions?
Just one.
One. Okay, that motion passes. That will bring us to item number 4. I don't know if we.
3.
No, we don't have the right.
Oh, it's not numbered
Numbers.
correct?
It's not numbered correctly.
Oh,
See,
okay.
we just did the
All
request,
right,
for this
all
should
right.
be item 3. And then we're on to item number 4. Hopefully, yep, your numbers in your packet are a little off. So just go ahead and write those in by hand. But we are in item number 4, from Kent County Administration. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to enter into a one-year agreement with the Kent Conservation District. The Kent Conservation District's mission is to protect and enhance the natural resources of Kent County through natural resource management services. The services protect and enhance soil, water, plant, and habitat resources. Programs targeting farmers and landowners offer education and resources to support a cleaner, healthier, and economically stronger county. The county can benefit from engaging in an agreement with the Kent Conservation District for specific services that support Board of Commissioners' priorities and initiatives. The funding associated with the agreement provides the Conservation District with required match dollars to apply for federal, state, and nonprofit grants that can bring significant additional funding into Kent County. An enhanced partnership with the Conservation District provides the county with needed expertise to address challenges on topics such as agriculture, watershed protection, and invasive species. The county can also benefit by coordinating the Conservation District's work in protecting natural resources and the Kent County Parks conservation efforts. The agreement will be reviewed and approved by Corporate Counsel prior to signature.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, we have moved by Commissioner Sparks, support by Commissioner Bukowski. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion.
And if I could also mention, we
Sure.
have Gerald Miller and Jesse Schulte from the district here to answer questions.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. In looking at the materials sent to us by the Conservation District, it listed some of the priorities for the county funds, and then it also talked about how this can be used as a match for other funded contracts and grants, and saying these funds will return dividends to the county. And I'm just wondering, in terms of the funds this can leverage, can that be quantified for us in terms of a dollar amount, or talk about the return on investment we can get in terms of leveraging other funds to come in?
Would you guys like to come up?
Sure, I heard your question. Would you repeat it, please?
Yeah, just wondering, since you've noted that these funds can be used as a match, can be used to leverage other funds, I was wondering if you could quantify how much funding could be leveraged with this amount.
Well, for an example, yesterday we submitted a proposal to the National Association of Conservation Districts for an urban agriculture grant. That proposal went in for $45,950, and we had to match at 25% for an example. So that would be one example, a proposal we just submitted.
Perfect, thank you.
Another example would be we want to do a state 319 water quality grant in Mill Creek because there's heavy sedimentation and some residents have been concerned about Cranberry Lake. And we want to apply for like a $300,000 state grant. But again, that's going to be 25% match. So it's trying to come up with that. We have the staff and we have the project ideas. We just need that foundation funds.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, good morning. Don't go away yet. The one-year agreement, just for a year, is that something special to this, or?
I think we'll assess as the year goes and then bring back a new agreement next year. And then perhaps that one might go longer, but those are just kind of it's been a long time since Kent County and the Conservation District had a funding relationship. So I think that, we just need to assess, I think, as the year goes.
Okay, well, just a quick follow-up. It says, I'm looking through the district's authority, and in the letter that we received from Dr. Miller, it says facilitate land use changes based on land capabilities and goals. I mean, is that just as I understand the word facilitator, and I understand that land use is usually local, so you're going to cooperate with local units of governments for land use? I just need a little more explanation on that, so.
I think how I would interpret that, Commissioner Morgan, is that we work with farmers so that they are using their land for what it's best suited. Prime agriculture land is land capability classes 1 and 2. We have farmers and operators and producers that are practicing agriculture production on land capability classes that are not necessarily best suited for agriculture production. So we would work with those. I shouldn't say we would. We do work with those farmers and producers to implement conservation practices on lands that aren't of the highest quality for production. So that's how that would be interpreted in terms of land use, land management.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Antor?
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned Cranberry Lake and Mill Creek are two bodies of water I basically grew up on and in. I have noticed Mill Creek over the years is slowly silted up. Got issues, and Cranberry's not the cleanest looking lake of all time, and there's issues there too. And a lot of times when we talk about this type of work, it's more in the rural areas. I was down on Division Avenue yesterday, just north of 28th Street, talking to one of the business owners. And he's got several buildings along there, and he was showing me Plaster Creek across, and he said, you know what I have to do to get this cleaned up? He said, there's always a lot of trash down there, and one side of the division is Wyoming, the other side is Grand Rapids, I can't remember which, but he said, I can't get anybody to really help me. I just want it cleaned up. There's a trail that goes through there, and there's down trees and just a lot of trash. And he offered to help pay for it even, but he didn't get a good response. How much emphasis is there on local urban water? Seems like they would be more likely to be contaminants than, once you get outside the city. And I'm just wondering, address them both equally, or how do you qualify those things?
So it is, we do, every 5 years, we do a resource assessment. So we ask the public where their concerns are, and a lot of times it is local residents that come to us with a project. And then what we do is work with all of our partners to try to find a solution. It just happens to be right now we're focusing on the Indian Mill Creek and the Rogue River. That was part of the RCPP project, so we're working on helping landowners there. But of course, we're always welcome to welcoming folks that have concerns and then seeing how we can figure out a solution.
People, those businesses along Plaster Creek, I could have them contact you and.
Yeah, obviously you probably know the Plaster Creek Stewards. We work with them quite a bit as well, and so they're leveraging a lot of state dollars, and we have worked with them as well. So I guess it would be the pocket and what the issue is, and then.
Not necessarily the creek, it's the surrounding
yeah, there's, I know what you're
encampments and
talking
things
about.
of that nature, so, thank you very much.
Thanks, and Commissioner Antor, would you pull your microphone a little closer to you? You broke in and out just a little bit during that. Thanks. Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's good to hear that. It's good to hear that you knew of the Plaster Creek Stewards, because they're doing great work, and it is about collaboration. It's about working together, listening to the community, and it's about when the water hits the ground, by the time it gets to Lake Michigan and on its way to the ocean or evaporate and all that rot. I just want to thank you for your ongoing forceful education and quiet advocacy for us as a county to put some dollars behind this partnership and support of your integral work out throughout the entire county. So I hope this is the beginning of that, and that there are other, as you noted, there's many other leveraging opportunities that with some additional local dollars, and I know based on your annual reports to us that you're talking to foundations and every funding source you can. So I applaud that, and again, glad that we're able to begin this process together, I hope, depending on what the votes are here and later.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 from Kent County Community Action. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $212,399 from the City of Grand Rapids to the 2022 Kent County Community Action Fund for the GRICB program, and to authorize the board chair or designee to approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The City of Grand Rapids has made $212,399 available in funding for KCCA to administer the Grand Rapids Individual Circuit Breaker Program, or GRICB, in 2022. The GRICB program is administered by Kent County Community Action through an agreement with the City of Grand Rapids. The current executed contract runs for 3 years, from 1/1/2021 through 12/31/2023. The program assists income-eligible households with water and/or sewer service shutoff or pending shutoff. Eligible households receive service from the City of Grand Rapids water system and/or sewer system. On average, KCCA assists 150 households annually through the GRICB program. The specific number served varies based on the amount of funding allocated by the city and the city-established maximum dollar assistance allowed per household. The grant term for this funding is January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Okay, we have moved by Commissioner Womack, support by Commissioner Wooden. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion. All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 6 from the Health Department. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to add 1 full-time lead sanitarian position to the Health Department, accept and appropriate $547,030 to the 2021-22 Health Fund budget from the Ready by 5 Millage Fund for lead investigations, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The Health Department has received funding from the Ready by 5 Millage funds to expand the lead investigation work currently being done in the homes of children found to have elevated blood lead levels. $547,030 in funding has been made available for budget year 2022, and additional $582,720 will be made available for budget year 2023. The lead sanitarians will conduct risk assessments and lead investigations to referrals received from internal sources as well as community partners. Previous funding provided for 2 full-time sanitarians. The addition of a full-time sanitarian was requested in this funding cycle to support the increasing number of referrals received. The Health Department has proposed to add 1 full-time lead sanitarian position. The cost of salary and benefits for this position is $82,578. The grant funds will also support the existing staff of 2 full-time sanitarians, 1 full-time public health educator, 1 full-time clerk 2, and 0.3 FTE of a supervising sanitarian, as well as travel supplies, software, promotional items, and indirect costs. For 2021, the Health Department provided home health screenings, lead-based paint inspection and risk assessment services, and risk assessments to 84 homes. For 2022, the Health Department projects to service 144 homes with the possibility of a home receiving multiple services. The grant period is January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2023. However, only the funding for budget year 2022 is being recommended at this time. The funding related to budget year 2023 will be recommended later this year. If funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations. This item was approved by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee on January 18, 2022.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Okay, we have moved by Commissioner Bukowski. We have support by Commissioner Womack. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion at this time. Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't see anything in here regarding remediation at all, and what I was wondering is, how do you find out which houses, are these just through general, I know this is Ready by 5, is this, when people go in maybe into a house where they're investigating a situation or helping parents, they see a problem, and then we come in and try to assess it? And is there any remediation efforts as part of this, or is that up to the homeowner entirely? And what do we do if they don't have the funds, I guess, to remediate?
Morning. The homes that we go in to test come to us by referrals. Typically, like in our WIC program, we do blood lead testing for children. And if a child their test is high, then we go into that home and then we'll do an assessment and possibly all the way through a LERA, which is the lead investigation, the full-blown lead inspection. If for remediation, then what will happen is after our sanitarian goes in and does that, then we provide them with information as to how to remediate, kind of come up with a plan and give them referrals and information about where they can go to get remediation. I know the city of Grand Rapids has funding for remediation. You know, unfortunately, you have to be a certain type of contractor in order to do lead remediation. So there's a limited number, so sometimes it's hard to come by for the remediation, but they do, we don't do any remediation. We just give them information as to where to go.
Is there any type of follow-up to see if they took the next step for remediation?
Yes.
If they choose not to, what happens then?
If they, and I have Sarah Simmons here too that does that, but if they do not, then our sanitarians will go in and investigate again, and then they issue, I'll have Sarah talk about it. She's more the expert than I am.
Hi, good morning. So what happens if a homeowner chooses to not follow through with remediation is that we actually put an affidavit on their property so that the next person who buys that home knows and can make an informed choice about when they buy that property. If it is a landlord, it's a little bit different scenario, and that's where we would look to go through enforcement action because it's in our housing regulations that they are required to provide a lead-free environment.
And would, during a land bank sale, they'll still occur?
They do, because the state land bank might be involved.
Okay, I'm just wondering if,
Kent County land bank, that has been,
curious if you could still buy a home that hasn't been remediated through the process, through the land bank, if that would still be a purchasable, and maybe a question for later.
I think so.
Okay, anyone else?
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Yeah, to follow up on that landlord issue, because the more serious request is potentially, I don't want somebody to write a memo if they can just have a 15-minute presentation in a meeting, outside of a meeting, of like what's really happening with lead throughout the entire county, be it city, county, private people. You know, because again, I've only heard rumor that it's like, we know the 100 houses, and can't we just fix those 100 houses? So now the less serious comment, I'm surprised we're not getting the sheriff another deputy so as to go in there and enforce this, that if you are a landlord and you know there's lead in your house, you just keep reletting it. And I have been in a room with a landlord in a over 100-year-old home saying to the lessees, this just signs that you know it's an old house, don't eat the paint chips, ha ha ha. And the lessees sign it. So, I mean, where's that real enforcement that we know children are being poisoned in our community? And now we're going to do even more people chasing the poison.
So you've got a lot of layers in there. So I'm gonna try to sort through them as efficiently as I can. One of the main things that we are working on right now at the health department with the city of Grand Rapids and multiple partners is the lead action team, and that is to put together a community strategy on how to address this. So there will be a report, I believe, in April on that, and that'll give you the more detailed, granular information that you want about what's actually going on in the community surrounding lead. And there's a lot of really great stuff going on. In terms of the landlord situation and enforcement, we can follow through with the public health code. That is part of our job and part of our requirement. I think the 100 that you see in there, it gets a little bit nuanced because it depends on if they're kind of like what we'll call multiple elevated blood lead level homes or new homes. And the unique thing about Ready by 5, and should be really clarified, is that a lot of the referrals are from the parents themselves. So this is something that we actually go out into the community, we advertise, we request that people utilize the service to find the lead before their children ever get sick. Because that's our goal, is, you know, not to use our children as indicators. So there's that. And in terms of the enforcement, that's probably the trickiest part. And part of our role with the lead action team is to really engage with the RPOA, with the Renter Property Owner Association, and to bring them up to speed. And we do have a good partnership with them. And there are bad actors, and that's the part where we just really need to strengthen and reinforce, is that enforcement element.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Womack.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you for all your work when it comes to this lead program. When it comes to a whistleblower policy, what type of whistleblower policy do we have, whether in the city of Grand Rapids, where we have the majority is lead, or Kent County-wide, because there's lead poisoning in the townships and suburbs too, but many of my constituents came to me and said after they alerted the city or inspectors that there were lead, that their landlord worked very quickly to try to remove them, and definitely didn't renew their leases. So many people in my community are afraid to even admit they have lead in their house.
So twofold answer to that. Ready by 5, we can go in and do a home health screening. We can identify what the lead hazards are, give the people tools to protect their family, maybe not to the extent of the remediation and abatement that was spoke of earlier, but ultimately the landlord and tenant scenario is a very real scenario. It's a lot of people turn us away because of that exact fear. So I think that really is a beyond the health department, a policy level decision that would be made by the county or the city perhaps, or further, to really put those whistleblower things in place, because you hit the nail on the head, really, because the housing market's so tight. When people get affordable housing, they can't afford to lose it. And so even if they are having a situation where they may have a child who is sick, they have to make the choice to stay there because they don't have another place to go. So it is a very difficult situation to navigate. It's not our what we do work with a lot in environmental health in particular are people who have complaints, but the challenge with lead is we do have to work with the landlord, and they are going to figure out that's the tenant that let us in, and so it does become very, very difficult to navigate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous this morning? I'll just add a warm welcome to Commissioner Wooden, who is the Vice Chair of Finance. So we, with his position as Minority Vice Chair, he has a Vice Chair position at a sitting committee, and it's Finance. So welcome back. And with that, we will be adjourned. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 15th at 8:30.